My name in full is Doris Eliza Caroline Jungermann Zobel. And I was born the 24th of January, 1920. I was born in the old farmhouse, and I was baptized at home because we only had a horse and buggy, and in January you couldn't go all the way to St. Charles with a horse and buggy with a baby. So the preacher came out to the house and baptized me at home. So.
I'm Janet Olinda Alma Jungermann Stille, and I was born in the old farmhouse, and I was born on August the 10th, 1922, and I was baptized in the old hall in St. Charles because they were working on the church at the time, and so all the services was being held in the hall, the fellowship hall, which was a real old building, and so I was baptized there because they was renewing the church.
Paul E. Jungermann, and of course the E stands for Edward, and that was my grandpa's name, so I adopted the grandpa's name, and he was known as Judge Holrow, and that's where I got the name. I also was born in the old house, and it was the slaves at that time, so I kind of refer to it as the old slave house because that's the people that had it before we did had slaves. And so I was born on October the 20th in 1924, so I had just had my 90th birthday.
I was born in 7/17/31, and they tell me I was born there, and I don't remember, but I was born in the old house, I think. And but I was baptized in church, so by that time they had a car already, they could take me there. So
I guess sleeping upstairs where it was really cold. Doris and I slept together, and we had a big old feather bed about that thick we put over top of us, didn't we? And then, because there was no heat absolutely up there.
Then we had a stove in the dining room that had some nickel-plated things on the ends, and we'd take them and we'd wrap a towel around them and take them upstairs and put our feet on them. So we thought we could get our feet warm a little bit anyway.
Until we warmed the bed.
Yeah.
Because the bed was cold. And Arlie, Paul wasn't that lucky. He didn't have anybody to sleep with.
He slept with Irvin.
Yeah, see, Pop hired a 15-year-old boy as a hard hand, and so when I grew up, we always slept together in the same bed, and of course in the wintertime, any little heat coming from anywhere helped you pretty good. Yeah.
There's no heat ever went through all them 11-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
Well, some people put registers in the floors, but we didn't have that.
No.
the windows weren't too good either. The air kind of blew through them.
And they were big windows too.
And the snow was laying on the edge when it snowed.
Right, yeah.
Well, we always had to carry in wood because we always had wood stoves.
Yeah.
I remember Paul and we had a coaster wagon, remember? And we did.
Well, I remember.
Pilot full.
I remember when you were little, and Mom cleaned the wood box off, went out to get an armful of wood, and while she was out there, you crawled in the wood box, and she jumped the armful of wood right on top of her.
Yeah, that's right.
I can remember her picking her out of there, and oh my gosh, she was hollering for dear life, and she didn't know if she was really hurt or what.
Probably not.
Now, one thing about that old big wood box, that was a favorite place for mice to go hide.
Yeah,
right. Always mice in there, but one of the stories that I always said, because I was the oldest boy, it was my job to keep the old wood box full, and I said I was about 14 years old before I found out my name wasn't Get Wood.
Well, you always had to split kindling
Yeah.
because Dad had to start the fire again in the morning.
Yeah.
And you had to split those little pieces of wood into kindling.
And you always had to go get the eggs.
Yeah.
And-
Well, we didn't gather eggs. We had to hunt them, remember,
Yeah,
because our
yeah.
chickens run all over.
Yeah.
Well, and then they'd have these old chicken lice on the roofs, and they'd get in the nest, and when you pick the eggs out of there, the old lice would run up your arms. and, yeah, then Dad would spray on them at night like that, but it helped for a while, but it didn't help all the time then. So, but in the winter you had to hunt eggs twice a day because they'd freeze in the nests there, because there was just the whole hen house was just an open thing, really.
You talking about the wood box a while ago when the mice would run out. Oh man, that was a picnic then. Close the mice, everybody had
That was
something,
fun.
was smacking at the mice,
Yeah.
trying to catch him and hit him with something.
Yeah.
A broom or a map
Yeah.
or a baseball bat or something. Yeah. No, Mom and Dad didn't get a bathroom until 1946. Because I remember when Lavelle got married, and I was bridesmaid, and that's the first time I took a bath in the bathtub at home, because it was 1946, in April of 1946. That's the first time that they had a bathroom.
On Saturday we'd take a tub out in the yard and fill it up with water in the summertime, so the water would get warm, and then when we get night, then everybody took a bath. The little ones got in first, and just the way it went up the line, they took a bath in that same water. And in the wintertime, well, we put it right behind the stove, and we'd all take a bath right behind the stove.
Well, the pecking order was that the girls always got to go first. So I was always third in line. You know? Yeah.
Well, and speaking about when we slept upstairs when it was cold, remember, we'd grab our clothes and we'd run down the steps. We just, and then we'd change into our school clothes downstairs because it would be too cold to stand upstairs.
I was just thinking, he's talking about sleeping upstairs when from China,
And Bernice,
Aunt Bernice,
Yeah.
when she stayed up there, and so she woke up during the night and had to go to the bathroom, and she found a vase. And so she's going to this vase, only she didn't know it didn't have a bottom in it.
yeah, I remember.
The one thing about the old outhouses, they never made them close to the house because of the smell. And so when you had to go to the outhouse, it was always about a quarter of a block away where you had to walk.
Right.
And if snow was about 8 inches deep on the ground, that wasn't fun.
Yeah. And we never used toilet paper. We always used a catalog.
Yeah.
And Mabel used to always say, "Why is it always down to the slick pages when I get out here?"
Yeah, Dad always said when they were a kid that they didn't dig a hole; they just put it on the edge of the hill, and the toilet would just went down the hill. Yeah,
Well, that was sanitary, wasn't it?
yeah. Oh, I remember Rex.
Rex.
The first dog we had was old Shep. You know, it was a good shepherd dog, and so in the summertime, Mom threw a blanket out there in the front yard and put me on it, and that dog wouldn't let me get off of that blanket. He just stood there and watched me all the time, and if I try to get off the blanket, he'd come and pull me back on the blanket. And he was really a watchdog.
Well, we always had a lot of dogs
Yeah.
because somebody always dumped
Yeah.
one somewhere.
Jess was the mail carrier, and so he come up there to the house one time with some mail he couldn't put in the box. And so he seen me down there, and he was going to come there to close. That dog got on him. He wouldn't even let him get close to me.
Yeah.
And that dog was really true watchdog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we had lots of cats, but they always
Yeah.
stayed at the barn. We didn't have cats in the house.
Yeah.
They always was down
Yeah.
at the barn.
Yeah, it was funny. The cats and the dogs would walk side by side at the barn.
Yeah.
But if the cat come up to the house, boy, that dog was chasing him back to the barn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
And when
they
you
knew
when
their
you milk,
place.
when you milk, why the cat would sit there and you'd squirt the milk out of that cat and just lick
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
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 Well, we had a litter of puppies one time, or a few times, but then one time I remember that it was a black dog, and I remember it. We got rid of some of the little ones, and then we had this other one, and we called him Puppy. We called him, that was his name, and we called him Puppy all the time. He was always Puppy, so I guess he just never did outgrow it.
Yeah.
You said about
Yeah.
chickens.
Yeah.
They in the spring of the year, they would have these boxes. Oh, I don't know whether there was a 25, I think, in each corner, wasn't there?
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was.
And them little peeps, they were about this big.
Yeah.
They'd ship them by mail, and you would think that, and that was
Well,
it
you
was
generally
real
have to go
cold.
to the
Yeah.
post office and get them, didn't you?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that they got little things that survive, but then they had a brooder, which like normally was, I think the older ones were something else, but I can remember the electric ones, and they were they're that high so the big chickens couldn't get in there, and the little ones could and keep warm underneath there.
Well, original one was fired by coal.
Yeah,
And coal, and that was pretty tricky because you had to keep them chickens so warm, and if you got the fire, if it went too cold, they would get colder and closer to the inside. But if it got too hot, they'd go out to the side, and either way they were smothered if you got it too hot or too cold. And so I don't know how in the world that they ever raised any chickens when regulating that with that old little hard coal that they regulated. It was a miracle that they ever raised a chicken.
But they had to get up during the night and put
Yeah.
coal in there all the
Yeah.
time. I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, then
Yeah.
when we got chickens at first,
Yeah.
we had an incubator. It was, I don't remember how many eggs it held, but then we put them eggs in there, and then every day you had to turn them eggs, and then till
remember
them
that.
chickens hatched.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah, well,
If
probably
you don't turn
couldn't
the
do it
egg,
anymore
why,
after we
then
had
the
you.
yolk
Yeah,
settles
but I
in the
remember
bottle
that.
and rots. So everybody had to coat them, and then ever so often you'd do what they call candle them. You'd hold them to a light, and you could see if the chicken was farming. If he wasn't, if he was rotten, well, then you throw him out. But that was about that old little incubator was about the size like a card table top, and that kept it in the basement, and that's where we started them chickens. Yeah.
yeah.
Where we
But
had-
all that spring chicken was good.
Oh my
Oh my gosh.
we could never wait till it weighed 3 pounds. And when it started weighing about 2.5 pounds,
Yeah.
we'd start already. We'd say, "Don't you think they're big enough that we can eat them?"
And in the summertime, then we had to work in the garden all the time.
Yeah.
And one year it was so dry, we had to put water our plants. And Paul said, "And when I get big, I'm going to raise ducks. They can get their own water."
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't feel poor because everybody else was.
Yeah,
too.
we didn't know what money was, right?
Well, the things that you remember is that one thing is Mexico Road was a dirt road, and so the WPA project for Roosevelt, they gravelled that road for us, and so when they was graveling that road, why that was in 1930, so I was 6 years old. And Mom would make a jug of lemonade, and I'd go out and I'd sell lemonade to these guys at a penny a cup, And they all got the same cup. Get the cup, one cup,
We had a feud between the Harsmeyers and the Jungermann.
Well, it was Jungermann Road just till the corner up there.
Well,
Then it was Cope Road.
Yeah, then it was Cope.
Because our address when we got married was Cope Road, when we lived on the farm there. And then it went up a little further till Harsmeyer Road, and then it was Harsmeyer Road. And I don't even believe it went all the way to Harvester. I don't think it did.
Well, when that newspaper man was come out and was talking to Dad about that years ago, he said, well, he said, they always got off of the main road. There wasn't even a highway then, where Interstate 70 is today. He got off the main road and he said, come down to the farmhouse. He says, everybody called it that. He said, one day they put up a sign. He said, that was the big ceremony. And so then it went to stop there, like Doris said, at Mexico Road. That was as far as it went. And then the Copes went where,
Went up there.
what subdivision is that now?
It went to Willock Road.
No, but what was subdivision?
No, see,
they built
Cope, I guess that's just about where
Well,
that
that's-
where that little old subdivision. You know what
High
do they
Point?
call it now? High no,
Point,
not,
you mean?
not High
What's that?
Point.
High
The one
Point,
before
you mean?
that.
No,
No, the one before
no.
that. Tree, something tree.
What is
Yeah,
it?
something tree. What is that little road that goes in there?
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
but
It's right on the other side of Koenig's.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't think what the name of that is. Some
Oh,
kind,
God,
some
I
kind of
can't
tree.
think of that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
all,
I think of
it's
that,
all
too.
got tree names in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when the Copes they subdivide that to oh gosh, I can't think of the name of that subdivision. Why then they changed, they added Jungermann Road name from Mexico to Willott, and so it stayed there on for a long time. And then when they made the new road through from Maclay Road to Highway 94, when they cut that through that farm there and made that, well, that was Harsmeyer Road, and they had a fork in there, and they had two Harsmeyer roads. They didn't care which one you took, you were still on Harsmeyer Road. And so the one of them went straight to Maclay, and the other one angled off. Well, that wasn't working too well, and then they changed that to Jungermann also. And that's what Arlie was saying a while ago. Ellen and Harsmeyer would say, you got part of our road, you know, with their name on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a letter from Tom Brown when they
Yeah.
dedicated that
Yeah.
that part of Harsmeyer Road
Yeah.
and changed it to Jungermann.
Oh, I'll be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said, did Harsmeyer Road, I don't think that went all the way through to Harvester, really. I don't think I think that kind of,
So that's
Harsmeyer
up to
Road? No,
Maclay.
what-
Yeah,
Maclay.
yeah, it stopped
Maclay
at
as well,
It
yeah.
Yeah,
still
and Maclay went and then.
Yeah.
See if you look to the east of there, where the Harsmeyer Road is now. See, that's where that ended, and then they cut that off.
because I remember when we would go to Harvester
Yeah.
Church,
Yeah,
we would always have to, when we got to the end of that, we had to drive
yeah.
different than to
Yeah.
get to Harvester Church.
See, and then
You know, because Uncle Bill and Cora went to Harvester Church.
Yeah.
And whenever they had Mission Sunday, we always went up there to church because they had Mission Sunday up there that time. And,
of course, Uncle Bill's first farm was off of Taylor Road,
Yeah.
and then he bought that other one on Maclay, and then that's where he built the new house. And when he built that new house, why I helped with our team of mules with a scraper to dig the basement.
I don't think
when-
Uncle Bill built that, did he?
Yes, he did.
Did he?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was he put up the money, and Ellen and
And Eddie.
Eddie, they lived there with him. So I don't know what their arrangement was, but they both built it there.
Yeah.
Well, we were a one-room school from the first grade to including the seventh, and then in the 8th grade we went to St. Charles, to Emmanuel St. Charles, and then we were confirmed, and then we graduated from St. Charles School.
The ones that was in the 1st grade, he'd say the kid that was in the 7th and 8th grade, they got this project and you go over and help them. And so the upperclassmen would be like substitute teachers for the lowerclassmen, like learning to read and one thing and another. They'd get one-on-one from one of the older student. But the old schoolhouse in the corner had a wood stove, and
They had a jacket around it, this big around it.
yeah, and an old jacket on there kept the you burn.
Yeah, so that nobody got burned.
And that was the same thing. They had the old wood building under where they could keep the wood dry out there, and of course always somebody, old teacher would say, go and get some more wood, to go out to have it. And all those old schools had a cloakroom, because you'd come there and you'd have your heavy boots and your overshoes and everything, and then it was like a hallway in back of the classroom, and this kept from having to heat a bigger area. Because it didn't, and so where you hang your heavy action boots and clothes out, that was away from there. And
then we had our dinner bucket in there too.
They had a shelf for your dinner bucket.
Yeah.
And we had one.
And then we had a water bucket in there with a dipper on.
Yeah.
When everyone to drink, everybody drank out of the same dipper.
Yeah.
And we had an old outhouse in the back of the school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one side was boys and the other side was girls.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then when it was winter time and it was snow, then when we had we'd eat our lunch real quick, then we'd go over to where Uncle Henry Rankin and them lived, and then we'd go sleigh riding down the hill there a while before we'd go back to school.
Yeah, they gave us an hour, but I think sometime we took an hour and a quarter.
Well, of course, one of the cave was there, and the Cave Spring was there, and of course, if you got cold, why, you could go in that cave, and it would always be, a lot warmer inside that cave. But the teachers knew if it was good sledding and one thing, and that didn't happen all the time. And sometimes he'd have a longer, a couple hour lunch hour or something like that there,
right.
so we get our sleigh riding in down that hill. Now from Mexico Road to where the Saw Service Road is on Highway 70, that was a hollow in there, and that's where that was perfect for sleigh riding.
Yeah. Well, you were asking how the teacher managed that. Well, actually, we wouldn't have geography every day. Maybe we'd have geography twice a week, and we'd have like history maybe twice a week. And then like maybe the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade would all have the same. They kind of lumped it together like that. But otherwise, it worked out real good. I mean, there wasn't any problem.
Whenever we got done with the thrashing and everything was so, one day we'd go to Forest Park. We always went to Forest Park one day. And one day, Grandma Hora would take her daughters and all the grandkids, and we'd go on an Admiral on the, so we'd have like a picnic, like we'd take a picnic lunch along, and we'd go on the Admiral.
It had to be very inexpensive, or we'd have never made it.
Yeah, I guess it was, I don't know. But I know we'd always go,
But then really for a vacation, I don't think we ever really took a vacation, except going to State Fair maybe.
I never, one time when I was working at Stumber's, you all went to the fair, but I couldn't get off, and because I didn't get to go along even then.
Yeah, I remember going to the fair. When I was about 13 or 14, I remember Paul, and you were.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, then we all went went, and seemed to me like a couple went with us. And Alma and Uncle Henry, maybe?
I don't know.
Seemed to me
Yeah,
like a couple
yeah,
went
yeah.
with us. And
Yeah.
and we went to State Fair. We got a tent and we stayed overnight.
Yeah.
You don't remember that? Well, you were
Yeah,
pretty
that's-
little then.
yeah, that-
I don't remember
That's
that.
that's what I remember real well because, they rented tents.
Mhm.
And so we had a family tent where we all stayed in this tent. And the one year we went up there, they had a terrific rainstorm, and it was just muddy and wet, and the tents were falling down from the rain and one thing and another. And it seemed like one of the things that you got used to the aggravations of things like that. And I can't even remember anybody saying we're going to go home because the weather was bad. And you just stuck it out and did what you could. And
Yeah. Well, we weren't used to any good conveniences
Yeah.
even at home. So why go home?
yeah.
I can remember Dad telling the story when they went to the fair one time when he was a young boy, and he got up there late and didn't have any place. They just rented a bed, and he said they put him in bed. He slept with this guy. He said never did see him. He said he had his back to me and I had his back to him. He said I got up the next morning. He was still in bed and we never did talk to each other or anything.
I didn't ever hear that story.
Yeah.
So when did you get a car?
Oh,
We got
before I was born, right
yeah,
before
right
I was
before
born.
she was born, we got the car.
It was just probably
It
a
was
Model
a model.
T.
It was a Model T Ford.
Yeah.
And when you went out riding around and it happened to start raining, then you had to stop and put the curtains down because it had curtains on the side. Didn't have no windows. It just had curtains, and you
There-
roll them up to the top, and then when it rained, well, then you had to put the curtains down. So
I suspect that when they finally settled the Jungermann estate, that there was some money involved in there, because Pop bought that new Chrysler in 1926, and I don't know how in the world, other than that he inherited that, he could accumulate.
Yeah, how he could ever yeah.
About $600 for a new car. I don't know where. That's the only thing that ever I speculated that's probably because that they settled the estate and it had money that he bought that new that Chrysler car for $600.
flour, 100 pounds of sugar,
Yeah.
and a 5-gallon bucket of coffee.
What I remember most of all, we all liked licorice, and they had a licorice that was about 18 inches long, and that was a penny. And so Pop would buy one of those, and we'd cut that in 4 pieces. And that.
No, you did. You cut my end was a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't know the difference. You was too little.
Yeah. It was part of who had the scissors, you know. And sometimes some kind of little brother got shorted there. Yeah.
Well, we milked cows, and then Mom made butter, and she would take butter into St. Charles, and then she'd get money for that, and then she'd buy groceries with that money, and then eggs too. We'd take eggs, you know.
Well, that was common term in the farm families that the women kept the egg money, and that they had extra eggs. Why they would sell at the store and kept the egg money. That's what they got for spending money.
Dad liked coffee cake a lot.
Yeah.
And when he would get the groceries, a lot of times then he'd come up. In them days, coffee cake came in a square, about this big square. And then he would bring a little square of coffee cake along home. Then we'd get a piece of bought coffee cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then later on, when he sold cattle and that down at the stockyards, he would always come home with a great big bag of bananas, remember?
Yeah,
He would have a great big stalk of bananas,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and boy, then we had bananas.
I can remember if he'd go to a meeting, like a church meeting or something, and then he'd come home and he'd usually buy like a quart of ice cream. Well, we couldn't keep the stuff, so we'd be 11 o'clock or 10:30 at night. Everybody's in bed. We'd all get up, boy, and have ice cream.
Yeah.
Man, that was a big treat.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we couldn't keep it, so we had to eat
Right.
it. We got in trouble? No.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Well,
I don't remember punishment.
Pop was the easy going one, and Mom, she was the disciplinarian.
Yeah, right.
And so she'd give us a good whipping when we needed it, I guess. And so Pop was he was more timid about stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they mostly talked to us.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
mostly reasoned with us
Okay.
if they thought we were doing something that we shouldn't. I mean, they
Yeah.
talked with us rather than to punish us.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember that part.
Yeah.
I always said I thought we had the best parents anybody could ever have.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I still say that
Yeah, well, they
that
were.
there wasn't many parents that were as good as ours. I mean, of all the cousins, you know. I mean, and sometimes they'd complain about theirs. I don't think we ever complained about ours.
One of the things I thought was interesting is that our group that we run with, in here, I can never remember being in some other people's houses, that the kids I run around with in their house. But our house was always there, and and Sunday afternoon, one thing or another, they'd always end up at our house.
Well,
Well,
we always got something good.
yeah.
I can remember at church,
Yeah.
they would give, there was them big bags, them
Like little grocery
brown
bags.
grocery bags. You'd get a bag full of, fruits and nuts and stuff, and candy. And that thing would be full.
Yeah, a big bag of candy and usually a big orange and
Yeah.
a banana, and then the rest was all peanuts, wasn't it?
Well, all kinds
Yeah,
of
all
nuts.
kind of nuts
yeah.
in the bottom.
Yeah.
Mhm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
everybody got that.
Right, yeah.
When we was out here at Case Spring School, about a month before, usually the Friday after Thanksgiving, then the school kids would all go out and visit everybody's house that was out here, and they would give you money so you could buy candy for Christmas.
Yeah,
Well, see, you never did get to
No.
go to Case Spring School.
No, he
No,
never did
yeah.
go to Case Spring
Yeah.
School. And then,
See, we had
and
that
then
same
the-
thing at
like
Case
the
Spring.
school board, they would buy candy, and then they would fix up bags like that everybody would get a bag, and then they would take like boxes, and they'd have candy, and then the people that was at the program, they'd pass these boxes around. Everybody could take a couple hunks of candy.
yeah.
And then Uncle Loy and Aunt Julie,
Yeah.
they come to our house every Christmas Eve, remember?
Yeah.
And then-
Because they lived, like where Koenigs live now,
Yeah.
and then they would always come after the Christmas program. They'd
They
come.
didn't have grandkids then, yeah.
Mhm.
And then she would bring us a tablet and two pencils, and two long pencils. And we could
Never
go to
been
school with
sharpened.
two big pencils after Christmas.
Yeah.
I can remember to go to Uncle Louie's and Aunt Julie's. You always get candy when you went there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other thing is talking about, you get we get a lot of like new underwear and new bib overalls,
Yeah.
and we would, but Pop
And
had a
socks.
tendency to buy a sack of oranges, and we got, that was about the one time we ever seen oranges.
Well, and then we got some homemade little doll furniture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Dad would
You'll
make.
never believe though what I got for Christmas. My freshman year, they gave me a snowsuit. Can you imagine a freshman now wearing a snowsuit to school? But I wore that because I had to walk up to the highway to meet the bus, and it was like one of those parka hoods, tied under here, and it was a snowsuit, a big old, just like the babies wear. It was my size. But I got that my freshman year for a Christmas present.
I just seen another thing in the paper the other day. It says, once you don't believe in Santa Claus, you get socks and underwear for Christmas.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they had the he had the airplane, and he was out here, and then they had an air show, and they were charging people $3 so that they would take them up and give them a ride and stuff like that. And then they had some guy was crawled up in the airplane, and then they had a ladder underneath the airplane, and he went down on this airplane, down that ladder, and then he was hanging by his feet, and then he couldn't get up. So here they was flying around with this guy, and they didn't know how to land that plane with that guy. They finally went through a cornfield, and that's how they landed him, so they wouldn't set the plane on him.
Yeah.
And so then they got him down like that. And then Lindbergh, then he was just like, he wasn't really, I don't think, even in the show, but he was flying around there then. And then here he just went down in the back there. But
Did he run out of gas?
no, he didn't run out of gas. I don't really know what happened. They never did say what really happened there then. So, but then that airplane was in the ditch in the back. It was where the old cherry tree was on the farm there now.
Yeah.
And then they come with a big truck and like a trailer thing and then they got it and put it out like that then. So, but they said this air show, that was advertised all over, that they were going to have that, and then they now let me see, who did they say? I think John Sanford. He was a judge in St. Charles. Now he had taken a ride, but then Irvin Sanford said his dad had said, "No, you ain't going up in that thing." And then Lindbergh, after he had said to Elra he was going to come out and give him a ride. He was only 8 years old. And then his mom said, "No, you ain't going in that airplane to ride that airplane." But then they had, but I remember we were standing in the front yard, yard by, about where the porch was there. And there was a lot of people there, and was standing there watching, because it was just right up here, in the Zoom Mills.
Well, it was right at that corner there, wasn't it?
No, it was over just a little bit further. But then that cornfield was right in that corner there where they drug that man through. Because I know that was right.
I guess that was a rope ladder that they had hanging down.
Yeah, yeah, something like that then. But then he was hanging by his feet, and then he couldn't get himself back up again then. So, and
at what was their names? Tavern in a dance and tavern hall in Harvester, and I knew some of those boys that he was with, but I did not know him, and because through 4-H I knew the Burchilties and the Ryan boys, and then he had come there too, and Lavelle and I went with Doris and Elroy up there to what was their names? That Barclay.
Barclay.
Yeah, Barclay Hall.
Barclay's hall.
And they had like a dance floor up on top, and then I remember he was so small compared to the other. I mean, he was short, and he only weighed 125 pounds when we got married, so you know how small he was. And then I remember I got a 5-year diary for Christmas that year, and I was all excited because I met him, and so then I wrote the very first thing in that 5-year diary was, "Met Buck Stilley, smooth dancer." and I spelled Stilley Stilley. I didn't have any idea how to spell it, but then I had behind there smooth dancer. But then I didn't see him again until March, and then his dad had a dance at
their house.
No, it was in St. Charles there, where right at the corner of, kind of kitty cornered from El Mel. what grocery,
Oh,
what store was there?
Trail.
Yeah,
Trails?
Old Trails, they called it Old Trails.
Old Trails, yeah.
And they had a dance there, and then he sent me a card, and he said, yourself and friends. I mean, I had that memorized. Yourself and friends are invited to this dance at Old Trails on March the 31st.
Yeah.
And so I was so excited, and I couldn't wait to tell Lavelle the next day, you know, at school. And because we were seniors that year. And so then we said, well, we're going to go there no matter what. I have no idea how we got there, have no idea how we got home, but we were there. And then I met him again, you know, and then after that it was smooth sailing.
Yeah. Well, you know, I dated practically every eligible girl in Cave Spring area, and so then I was Anna Marie Senker was kind of you know, kind of looked like we was partnering up.
Looked
all
like
the
you were
time.
partners.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I come here one night and she said she was engaged to this other guy. I said, that's a bad deal. And so I said, well, I might as well go back to sea, you know. So I went back on the ships, and I sailed for another 3 years. And so the one ship I sailed from Boston to Seattle, and we'd go through the Panama Canal. Went to Panama Canal 5 times on that ship. And we'd stop into New York twice, once going up to Boston and the other one coming back. And so then she belonged to the Merchant Seamen's Club there, and it was called the Port and Starboard Club. And so I got to know her, and I'd go to sea while we'd ride back and forth. And so then finally, then she went into the roller derby. And she went to and played in Detroit. When she got done in Detroit, well, she come down here and see me here in Missouri. And so by that time, all our friends were married, and we was both 25. I said, you want to get married? And she says, why not?
What we got to lose, huh?
Yeah. So then she got out of the derby, and we got married, and we figured out that all told, before that we'd probably only seen each other for about maybe a month or 6 weeks, because it was just in and out when I was in port before that. But the rumor was, when we got married in such a hurry that time, is how soon you think the baby's coming. That was the rumor. Yeah.
Dad did what?
Well, yeah, we just went to high school together, and she was the homecoming queen. So, well, you know, I had a.
And you were a good basketball player.
I was out there. I don't know how good I was, but anyway, so that's how we met, and things progressed. So I don't know just how we got married, but but we did.
It was sure a hot day.
We was on an island. We couldn't go anywhere. We went to Troy, Missouri, to a dude ranch for our honeymoon, because that's as far as we could get.
What I had, it was all housekeeping jobs, just helping people out when they had babies and people in them
operations.
days had operations and when they birthing them would, like when they had a butcher and they'd thrash or anything like that, then I always would have to go over there and stay overnight, so I was there right away the next morning or something like that and help her out. And, I wasn't home very much after I was about 15.
No, because because we had a room together before that, and you weren't ever home.
Oh,
I mean, I had a room by
was
myself
always,
after
I
that.
was always working from one
Well, when,
place
when-
to the other. And,
when I was, of course, when I quit high school there, I got an increase from $2 to $5 a week. And so we had a farm truck, and the elevator got coal in by the carload, and the farmers would buy that by the ton. And so Pop says, you can use the truck if you want to, and you can haul some of that coal from to the farmers. And they paid me $1 a ton, and all I had to do is scoop it off of the railroad car into the truck, and from the truck to where they wanted it. And I only had to scoop a ton twice, and they give me $1 for that. The first day I made $6. I was rolling in big money.
That's
if
because
you,
you were
if you got
ambitious.
$5 a week, well, then you even made more than I did because I made $18 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I can't even hardly think of.
Well, Grandma Horo, I remember when she was 65, her heart was so bad that she wasn't supposed to walk up and down the steps or anything. And I know Doris went there and helped her clean. I went there and helped her clean and everything. And she lived to be 91.
And as soon as everybody would leave, she'd clean the attic. Oh man, they used to get so mad at her. You know, everybody who was gone by, she'd go up there and clean the attic.
Yeah. Well, and we probably never did anything right for her either.
Yeah.
I bet when we thought we had everything good, she probably still did something.
Went over it again.
Yeah, because I remember they had those wooden steps going from the kitchen into the basement. The basement was just a cellar. I mean, it wasn't a basement.
Yeah.
And they were just, it was, and the steps were rough. You know, I mean, you couldn't really wipe them clean. You had to take a little brush, you know, to brush them. I mean, you couldn't really get them clean. But they were, it was gory down in the basement because there wasn't any, I mean, there wasn't any light down there, just a little old light hanging from the ceiling.
That-
When they
There was 9 kids in the Horo family, and at Christmas time we'd all go to
Yeah.
you know, Grandma Horo, Grandma and Grandpa Horo, you know, for Christmas. I don't know where they put all them people. You know.
I don't know.
Well, we were
sit-
standing.
We sit on the steps and pay
Yeah,
button,
we-
button,
yeah,
who's
button,
got the
button,
button.
who's-
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then when we ate, remember, she just had a dining room table,
Yeah.
And a
and so
kitchen
12
table.
would fit at that. So, okay, 12 people went to eat.
Yeah.
So the rest of us waited. Then 12 more people went to eat, and the rest
First the
waited.
men ate.
Huh?
First the men ate.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Then the women ate. And then the kids
And
got
then
to
the
Yeah.
kids, yeah.
Whenever you come in, they'd say, your turn ain't yet, go on and play.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I
Yeah,
often thought.
they had an open, when you come in the house, then there was an open stairwell going up to this.
And then,
Okay.
okay, go ahead, maybe you was gonna tell
Oh,
that.
and that's where they'd make us kids sit on, and we'd play button, button. Who's got the button? Well, one person would have the button in their hand, and they'd go through everybody else's hand like that. And then when you dropped a button in one of them's hand, oh man, it was exciting, I tell you.
Yeah, and then you had to try to guess whose hand you put it in, yeah. No, but I was gonna say, remember that, that furnace that was right underneath,
yeah.
underneath there? And it was this big square, and you could see the flames.
It
I mean,
was like
that was
a
a
card-
wood, that
it
was
was
a-
almost like a
that was an
card
iron.
table.
Yeah, it was an iron thing, and one of the kids fell on that one time.
I think
a
it
little
was
one.
Paul that
Phil.
did that.
Yeah.
Who?
Paul.
Paul
He
fell
was
on
the
it,
one
did
that
he?
fell on
And
it.
I remember burning his hand real bad.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, Grandma Horo's birthday was in July.
August.
No,
the day-
August
Yeah.
August?
23rd of August. That
Close
was
enough.
26th.
They, anyway, they'd always have a
around
picnic.
Christmas, wasn't
And
it?
when she was 90, she had 90 direct descendants, blood relatives. She had 90 blood relatives.
When she died,
Yeah.
she had 98. She had 98 direct descendants,
Uh-huh.
and then Bonnie, Wayne Smith's
Wayne Smith,
Pam,
Bonnie?
then Pam.
Pam.
Wayne, then she died Then she was born in June, and then Curtis was born in July.
Yeah.
We always said he would have been the 100th
yeah.
descendant
Uh-huh.
because it was 98 when she died,
Yeah.
and then Pam was born in June,
Yeah.
and Curtis was born in July. So
You-
she would have had 100 direct descendants.
Och,
Yeah.
och.
I always
Yeah.
think about when
She
it was,
does. Yeah. So it's och, yes.
Yeah, oh,
I was thinking when it was Christmas,
What?
Because
then they would
he would have
make,
been 100 because there was more after him.
Yeah, but she passed
She
away.
would have been
That would
number
have just been the 100th one, that's what you
Oh.
said.
Yeah.
when it was Christmas time, then they'd always make a Tom and Jerry.
yeah.
It was like eggnog, only it was made with hot water instead of milk.
Mhm.
And then they didn't have no mixers or anything. You had to beat that by hand. And I can see them women
That was
standing
raw eggs.
in the
Yeah.
kitchen there. It'd be you. Then they'd hang the bowl to another one would whip them off.
Yeah, it was one of those little things that you turn like this, to beat those eggs.
Yeah, but then they had them like this
Whips.
with the whips like,
Mhm.
and then they was whipping. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh!
Yeah, well, those girls, like Mom and them, they worked the whole while.
Oh, yeah.
Made stuff and but then when we had our Christmas dinner, we always had a big dinner.
Oh yeah.
Always had
Mhm.
mashed
Yeah.
potatoes and gravy and what kind of meat did we have? Meatloaf maybe?
I don't really.
I don't know what kind
even
of
remember.
because we didn't have ham at that
Didn't
time.
have
No.
turkey?
Huh?
Didn't have turkey?
I don't think we did.
Oh, not for
We
Christmas.
most probably had chicken if we'd had anything.
Yeah, if there'd have been anything off of the
They
farm,
always
it'd have
got,
been chicken.
Grandma's famous beer soup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was warm beer with bread.
yeah, little breadcrumbs in it.
Broke up bread.
Little bread
That was
cubes.
beer
Ever-
soup.
If they'd ever have a party and there was beer left, boy, the grandma would get the beers. She'd make
Yeah.
beer soup.
Beer soup.
Wasn't that in one of the cookbooks? Wasn't that recipe?
Yeah, it's in one of those Mother's Cup cookbooks. I think Aunt Aldine put it in there. But I remember
Yeah.
when you and Rocky's dad, was
Boxed.
yeah, when you boxed.
Yeah.
that was I
mean-
can tell you what year that was because I was pregnant with Marcia, and so I didn't get to go, but and Mom didn't want to go. Remember, Mom
Oh,
said,
no.
she said, I'm not going to go. And so she and I was sitting in front of that radio, and I remember, and Jungermann is bleeding profusely. Oh, it would just make us just feel terrible, and that would be coming over the radio, And well, you always did have
Harry
trouble.
Carey, he's the one that.
Yeah,
That's
but then you always had trouble with your nose bleeding.
Yeah.
And I mean,
So when he
and
was
that's what I
just
remember. He'd always say,
I was there and I didn't
Jungermann
even look.
bleeding profusely.
That's
I
what,
remember
that's
he
what
always say.
Richard would say. Mom, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Well,
I got a funny story to tell you about that. When we got done boxing, they had their seats written down where they were sitting, and so that was in an arena, which is round. And so I took a shower and got dressed, and there was an usher there, and I said, "Here, where are these seats?" He said, "Just right around the other side. It's directly across from here." So okay, I'm walking around there, and I didn't see it. Anyway, he said, there's another usher there, and I said, he said, "Where are these seats?" He said, "You all right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You just boxed, didn't you?" "Yeah." He said, "You sure you're all right now?" Well, by that time I was getting aggravated. Yeah, daggone it, I just want to know what. He said, "You just asked me here a couple of seconds ago. I walked completely around the arena and asked the same usher
So that's
where
what
the seat was."
We had this land and we was going to build a house. We had everything ready to build it, and then they said, "Oh, we can't put your loan through because you're not full-time farmers anymore." So okay, well then we didn't know what to do. So then one day I seen this ad in the paper. It said if you would come down, you could buy houses down there, but you had to take them down. So I said to Janet, "You go along with me." Me and her went down there to look at these houses. The first one, we went in just about the first door a little bit and kind of looked around a bit. We went out again. The longer we looked, the more more nerve we had, we kind of finally got it. So finally we found this house, and boy, that was all $295 for that house. So I come home and told Yar, I said, well, we can get that down. We can take that house down. So I said, well, okay, let's go. So we did. We went and bought it then. And then we took it down piece by piece.
Well, it was a brick house.
Yeah, it was a brick house.
'Cause we-
And they throwed the bricks. We were going to make a frame house, but then they took the bricks and put them on a truck and dumped them in a dump truck out, and never even broke a brick when they dumped them out on the dump truck. So we said, boy, they're pretty good brick. So then we decided, well, we just make it brick then. So then we had to clean all them bricks. Then we sat there and rubbed bricks together to get all that mortar
Yeah,
off.
that was when our 4-H club was
Yeah.
was real ambitious. Remember?
Yeah.
One
Sunday,
weekend,
the
yeah.
4-H bunch came
All
over
came
here and
here and
helped
we all-
us. And
all clean brick.
I can't remember, but I think it was 7,000 bricks. I think we had to clean. And then we brought it out here, and then we dug this basement, and the oh gosh, what is them people's name yet? Live right up here. Now I can't think of their name. They dug basements, and they dug our basement, and when we wanted to pay them, they said, no, we're neighbors. They said, so you don't have to pay us nothing. We're just doing that for a favor. So okay, then we got our basement dug then, and then we started building on the house, and then Ray
That was
Moss.
right before you got started with
Ray,
that.
Yeah.
no, he helped.
I worked on this.
Ray,
Yeah.
Ray
Yeah,
Mossman
Ray
was
Mossman,
going to
but
build.
that was
He
right
was going to
before,
build
yeah.
a house, and he said, "Never built a 2-story one before." He said, "I don't know if I know how to build this 2-story one." And so, then him and Arlie was here, and they built it. And then that one day the wind blowed so terrible hard, and then Ray said. He was sitting downstairs here or somebody, and he said, well, now we'll see once if I knew how or if I didn't, if the top blows off, and they know I didn't know.
Yeah.
So, but we had lots of help. A lot of people helped us to take it down, but we took it all down there.
Oh yeah. How many days do we go down there?
Oh, I don't know. And there for one, that was when Paul was
Oh,
hauling.
man.
He
Yeah.
was hauling milk, and
Yeah.
then he'd get off in the afternoon. Then I would drive down there and pick him up, and then we would go on over there and
Oh, Edgar Marison, his old truck, he really helped you too.
yeah, he did. Yeah.
And
And Kermit, he had so
Yeah.
much fun because he said they never would let him just take something and hit right through the wall.
Yeah.
So
Right.
and he helped us like
well, Milton, of course, that electric stuff, he
Yeah,
he helped with that.
yeah. Well, he did the electric here in our house. He did all the electric in here.
Yeah, that was kind of. We worked behind. I poured some concrete behind the hall at church, and stayed there late. And, finally had to finish it, and boy, it was dark by the time we got finished. And so then we went down in the where the furnace was for the hall and the church. It's a great big old furnace. It used to be an oil furnace. It had about a 3-foot square firebox, which was about 12 foot long, 15 foot long, something like that, which it was converted from coal to oil. And we got down there, and Raleigh said, oh, we're having trouble with this thing. He turned it off for a while, and so he said, oh, we can most probably turn that back on again. And he turned it on, and he said, did you ever see that fire in there? I said, no. And he went, and he was going to open that door. When he touched that motor, it got its first contact and put a spark in there. Well, it had been shooting this oil in there, which turned to gas. And as soon as he touched that, it exploded. And it just, it was about, let's say 15, 20 foot from the furnace to the other wall. And it blew us back up against that wall. And funny things that you remember, but I can remember telling Raleigh, we better get out of here. You know, pretty smart.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got out and got in my truck, and we drove just drive right down to the hospital. And Raleigh's daughter there, he was telling somebody, to his mom, he says, there was two colored guys got in Arlie's
my mom
truck and
said
they
that.
drove down.
My mom said that.
Your mom said that too?
Yeah, remember she said Arlie died in the truck. Two colored guys.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, that was terrible. I believe your head was that big
Oh,
around that
yeah.
next day.
What did they call that old diesel? That old real heavy diesel they used that on the ships.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, but they had like a number something.
Yeah,
Diesel.
well, kerosene, it was the second one down from kerosene,
Yeah,
is what they
yeah.
burnt on it, yeah.
How many days were you in the hospital then?
I wasn't there, about a week and a half, but Raleigh, he was there, about 3 weeks, yeah.
He was burned worse than you, I guess.
Well, he was older though, so, see, that made a big
Yeah,
difference.
yeah,
you
that's
know.
right. Yeah, to
Yeah.
heal.
'Cause I was young at
You
one
remember
time.
you coming
A long
to
time.
Texas like this?
Yeah, yeah.
Was that
even-
when I kept him?
Yeah,
You
I can,
went to Texas and I know I kept him.
Yeah.
I can remember was in the hospital there, and well, actually you can still see there yet where they burnt because I had a jacket on, and then from here on up, and anyway I was all bandaged up, and then said, "Nurse, I got to go to the bathroom."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she probably said, just go ahead.
Yeah.
That was
Save your money.
I don't know what you'd pass that on to them now. They wouldn't do anything that we did when we were young.
Yeah, things are different now.
Yeah, things are just
Completely.
different.
Completely.
Well, I was thinking of the one saying, "Godliness with contentment is great gain. We brought nothing into this world, and it's certain we'll take nothing out."
Yeah.
And if you think in those terms, well, a lot of times that helps you. That what you got really don't amount to nothing, you know.
Restaurant we went in down south somewhere. Anyway, you put out a little card, and it's your attitude, he claimed, and I really believed in that your attitude is what brings you along. If you got a bad attitude, God dang, I got things bad, you got it bad. If you think you got it good, you got it good. And no matter where you are, if you think you got it good, you got it good. If you think you got it bad, you got it bad.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's just what life is about.